Well, God damn it. It happened again. Remember I said earlier I was going to relax and chill? Well, I still plan on doing that, but hasn't happened yet. I couldn't, I sat down for about 20 minutes. And I had to look at the files. I had to see. And then after I did, I came to the conclusion about something. I've talked about this in the past, but not in a long time. And I didn't realize until today how important this distinction is. It's just been a big problem in ufology for a long time now. What we got, and it came right to the forefront when I was looking at the new videos releasing these files. Really, most of this was just stuff that's already leaked out. In fact, it may all be. I mean, this is also we've seen, The government didn't release it before. It was leaked from people. It's almost like it's a confirmation. Like they're saying, all right, that stuff you saw that got leaked out, all right, that stuff's actually real. That's really all it is. But here's the main thing. This has been going on for a long time. I've seen this happening. I've called it out on the show before. We've got two different phenomenon. I think I talked about this. I did. I talked about this back when remember the Chinese spy balloon thing was happening? That was the last time I mentioned this point, so I'll bring it up again. We've got two different phenomenon that are being confused into one phenomenon. And they know this because that's why they created, after 100 years of UFO, they moved the terminology from UFO over to UAP. Actually, if they bothered to explain, see, that's what's suspect about it, because they didn't bother explaining to people why they did that. It's because there's two different types of phenomenon. And this file release today doesn't show the first kind of it. It doesn't show UFOs. I guess technically they're unidentified flying objects. That's a UFO, but so there's two different definitions. There's a UFO. A UFO is like what you think of a classic craft. A flying saucer. That's a UFO. A UAP are unidentified aerial phenomenon, and I'm telling you guys, I've studied this shit for years. 100% of the time, these UAP things are associated with chemtrails. I've witnessed them. I documented some of them in my film a few years ago. Whether or not, Skies of Lies. If you haven't seen that, go watch that one again. I mean, my sister, I remember back in 2004, my sister, it's in the film, caught, it's still to this day, I got it right here on my desktop. It's still to this day, in my opinion, the best photograph. It was just totally an accident, perfect timing of, we saw this chemtrail. It formed an X pattern, which you see chemtrails do a lot, like an X marks the spot thing. So my sister went inside and grabbed my stepmom's digital camera. This is 2004. We didn't have camera phones then. And she goes inside and gets the digital camera, comes back inside and snaps a picture. And then I start looking at it, and I asked my sister, I said, did you see this? She's like, did I see what? I was like, because we had seen these orbs in the sky many times flying around near chemtrails. And I said, this orb is cutting through the X, and you can actually see a vapor trail behind the orb. You could never see that with the naked eye. That's why people say these things don't appear to have any propulsion. Well, they have some sort of propulsion to them. Whether it's anti-gravity or something, but something is affecting. I'll post this picture again when I post this show, because this picture is fucking... It's unbelievable. And I've seen these... Most of what... I'm telling you, everything... Not most. I'm saying 100% of everything in the new release are not UFOs. They're UAPs. And they're all associated with chemtrails. Silver orbs. There's tons of those. That one thing looks like a star. You can see it. It's flying around, and it's laying chemtrails as it's flying around. This is two different things being confused as one phenomenon. UFOs are one phenomenon. Listen, there's nothing in this release, not a photograph, not a video, nothing that is anything like what I have personally seen with my own two eyes. I saw a yellow boomerang twice. It glowed yellow like you like like the stereotypical thing you see in like a cartoon where they showed like a piece of uranium or something. It's like it's gold and glowing and there's rays coming off of it and stuff. Like, wah, wah, wah. It was like that. It was boomerang shaped and it went into like warp speed, like a Klingon bird of prey or something, and left a trail behind it. I saw that twice. So the stuff I've seen, happens so fast that even if you had a camera in your hand when you saw it, you wouldn't be able to get the camera up in time to take a picture. Everything I've ever seen falls. I've never seen anything that, well, one time. Mostly what I've seen has not been stuff that's lollygagging around. Me and a friend chased a UFO when we were like 16 or 17 in his truck, and we chased this thing for like 30 or 40 miles, and then it banked hard right at an accelerated speed and shot out of the atmosphere. That was crazy. That was like 1993 or something. Yeah, that was fucking crazy. We saw this thing. We were just driving. We saw this thing. And I said to my friend, hey, man, what is that? And he saw it and he goes, I don't fucking know. And he gassed it and we started following this thing. And he noticed that we were following it and he started accelerating. Yeah, it was crazy. I think they're trying to intentionally confuse people even more than they already are. Because they are associating these things that, in my opinion, I've told you my opinion on what I think these UAPs are, the orbs and all this stuff that you see associated with chemtrails. I think those are either from the future or they're from an inner Earth or an underwater civilization. I don't think they're space aliens trying to help us fucking destroy ourselves. A fucking species that came here from millions of light years away wouldn't give two fucks if we were going to blow ourselves up with nuclear weapons. I don't believe that. But a more localized civilization who would be affected, even possibly destroyed by our activities using nuclear weapons, yeah, they would be paying attention. So, I mean, you know, one of these silver orbs that they show a lot in these new release videos, which I've seen, you know, a million times myself, and they move so quick you wouldn't be able to snap a picture of one if you saw them. My sister just got lucky capturing that one cutting through the X chemtrail. I'll post the picture here in Patreon, but give me a second. They found one of these silver orbs a few years ago, crashed in Mexico. It was in the news. Here was the most fascinating thing about that whole thing to me, and this is, to me, what proved my theory about them possibly coming from the future. When they dismantled this thing, it had a serial number in it. Like an actual, not fucking hieroglyphs and fucking, an unreadable language or something. It had actual human numerical numbers, serial code. But here's the thing. They ran the serial number. The serial number does not exist. So guess what that means? If you sent something in the past from the future and it had a serial number in it, if someone finds it, well, they'll just see it has a serial number, but the serial number hasn't been created yet because this thing came from the future. So there's your out right there. Otherwise, we know it had to come from Earth. Otherwise, it wouldn't have the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You wouldn't have the same numbers we have, but it did. That to me was when I was like, oh, okay. These things are coming from the future. Because they're always sending around chemtrails. There's a video, I think it's in my film, Whether or Not Skies Have Lies. You see one of the, there's footage that they filmed whenever the Concorde airplane first came out. And someone's in another plane filming the Concorde flying, and you see one of these silver orbs come up from underneath the Concorde. This is film from the 70s. These are two different phenomena. Little green men and that whole thing, even if that's real, maybe not even be. But what I'm saying is that those are two different phenomena from what these things that they've released in this current release are. These are UAPs, and I believe 100% these are involved in climate modification. And it could be that it's from the future. They're coming back in time to fix the climate. Because the climate is going to reach an irreparable state in the future. And by the time it does reach that state, humans will have time travel. So they devise this, and they use holographic technology and cloak technology, like that picture that I have that I'm talking about with the orb cutting through the chemtrail X. It's a cloaked orb. It's cloaked to look like it's just a cloud. I've seen those. They move around. They move at a high rate of speed. Yeah, they're using all kinds of stuff. They somehow have the ability to blend into the environment. I think I told you recently, I've noticed a big change in the chemtrails this year. They're at a much higher altitude now than they ever were before, and they're using different types of weird craft that I can't identify. Every time Elon or SpaceX or whoever puts a rocket up, that rocket puts holes in the atmosphere, and it doesn't repair immediately. It takes time for it to repair. So after you've launched a bunch of rockets, China launches them, Russia, all these countries launch them, right? Well, over time, they're not going to repair fast enough, and it's going to cause solar radiation to come leaking through. Well, that's what chemtrails are, solar radiation management, SRM. But anyway, here's the biggest thing. Besides, this is two different phenomena being confused as one. I heard on Jesse Waters' Prime Time on Fox News tonight, I heard them say these following words. There's even stuff in there about how the aliens abduct humans for a hybridization program. what? You know, I said that last year on Coast to Coast AM with Idris Sarah. I talked about them doing human alien hybridization stuff at Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he about shit himself. Guess what? The Jesse Waters clip, I already went and looked. I went and looked immediately. Scrubbed. Already scrubbed. They must have used AI. I believe, it's not the first time I've seen this happen. I believe that they have real-time AI stuff now. They can edit things out of live feeds in real time. And I think they certainly deal with that. I even went and pulled the transcript from Jesse Waters' show tonight. Not in there. Scrubbed. They said it, y'all. I was going to take the night off tonight. Either I wanted to get her and do it my second show of the fucking day. I didn't. But God damn it, there's some fucking funny business going on. Guess what else I heard them admit? They said, word for word, they said this. The CIA is stalling to release some of the files. Now, wait a minute. Now, if you go back to when Trump originally first announced he was going to release these files, you might remember I said here on the show when he said he was going to tell the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, and I said, why are you telling those groups? You need to tell the Department of Energy, the CIA, that's who you really want to know. But Trump didn't name those groups as the ones he told to release the files. Yet they said on Fox News tonight, the CIA is stalling to release some of the files. Word for word, that's what they said. I have a feeling that was a fuck up. Because according to what Trump said initially, and according to what has come out, the CIA was not to be involved in this release. So what files are they not disclosing? So all this, I mean, really, honestly, there isn't really anything here. A bunch of derp, a bunch of, no shit Sherlock type stuff. Big focus on the Apollo missions. They've been trying to, people, first off, you had to fucking believe that we ever even went. The Apollo missions were real, which we fucking know for a fact they were not. But even back when people still did believe they were real, I remember hearing the stories. It was in that movie, The Right Stuff. I saw it at the theater when I was a kid. It was like a 3.5 hour movie. My aunt took me to see it. Remember, it was the school night. She brought me home at like 11:30. She was telling my dad, I'm sorry I had him out so late. I didn't know the movie was that long. Dad was like, it's fine. It's okay. It's no big deal. He's like, well, was it good? I was like, well, yeah, it was good. The Right Stuff. Remember they remember the Fireflies? They talk about that. John Glenn saw the Fireflies. They, for years, have been trying to write that off as, that was debris from the craft, or that was this, that, and the other. Well, here's the way I understand it, or have understood it. This is what I heard. Again, take it with a grain of salt. What I heard was that they were told, the Apollo mission astronauts on all the different Apollo missions, were all told that it would be a really good thing for America and a really great thing for the space program. It would really get people to get behind it and support it. Would be if they could come back with any stories that could be, possibly related to aliens. And they all came back with them. They talked about being watched by aliens on the far side of the moon when they were, supposedly walking around up there. Apollo 11, Apollo, all that shit, the Apollo missions. They spent years trying to debunk people who were saying, oh, the NASA astronauts saw stuff when they were up there. People would say, oh, it's just natural, just debris and stuff from the spacecraft and all this shit. So now, the genie is out of the bottle on the moon missions in general. We know it was fake. The big showpiece of this release is the Apollo mission. Several transcripts and images from Apollo 11, 12, and 17 have been released. Astronauts reported seeing flashes of light, jagged and angular fragments, and very bright particles. That sound like UFOs to you guys? Not the least bit. Outside their aircraft. That sounds like exactly what they were saying it was from the very beginning. Here's what I think it was. We all know this is all fake bullshit anyway. They just created some special effects for them to see while they were in the simulator, and then that got spun into the myth that they experienced alien encounters while on this whole horseshit. It includes an FBI historical case file covering 1947 to 1968, infrared photos of objects over the western U.S. from September to December 2025, and a Department of Defense 2024 assessment that documented hundreds of new UAP incidents. So it begins, folks. So it begins. So none of this stuff in this release, none of this stuff are UFOs. Definitely UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, but not flying saucers, which is what everybody was expecting. So that tells you right there the reason why they're doing this. This is just acclimation. They're getting people acclimatized to the idea. It's been going on for the last 16 years now, since 2010. That was when Ancient Aliens first started, which was the CIA's first go at acclimatizing people that aliens are real. Which tells you exactly why they never would have my ass on the show. They're trying to take all these things that they know for a fact are not extraterrestrials, like the star that was spraying chemtrails and the silver orbs. The government already knows those aren't extraterrestrials. They know exactly what they are, and they just want to confuse you further by associating that phenomenon with UFOs. So that anything that you see in the sky that's not identified has to be little green men. Wrong. It's a twofold thing. They're trying to hide what this other phenomenon, the UAP phenomenon, the orbs and all that chemtrail spraying stuff, they're trying to disguise what that phenomenon really is and lump it in with the UFO phenomenon so that they can appease people without really telling them anything or showing them anything or telling them the truth about any of this stuff. We're not any closer to knowing the truth about extraterrestrials and UFOs than we were yesterday. Not a bit. But there are going to be some people who are going to say that we are. And that's really who they're aiming for. They're not aiming for us niche market people. They're aiming for the mainstream consensus reality people that need a little gentle nudge towards believing that UFOs are real. Why do they need to do that? Because they need to do that so they can more easily sell dun 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 the fake alien invasion when it comes. So yeah, I stopped short before at saying this release was 100% going to be to sell the fake alien invasion. But now, after looking at the files, I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's exactly what this is. It's designed to further obscure the real truth and to cover up the truth about one phenomenon while simultaneously jumbling it up with this other phenomenon and making it look like it's the same thing, not two different phenomena. So, yep, great obfuscation by the federal government as usual. Typical bullshit. I'm telling you though, the fucking alien human, they said that aliens have been abducting humans to create hybrids. They said that on the Jesse Waters Program show, and it's already been scrubbed. I immediately started going and looking online to see, did I miss that? Did I fucking miss it? I did not miss it because it's not there. If it was, it's already been scrubbed. So, goddamn, I'm about to fucking pass out, y'all. So, in summation, there's no smoking gun, no confirmation that aliens do exist. Mundane explanations about everything. Everything you see has a mundane explanation to it. Even the star thing that's clearly spraying chemtrails, you can see. It's funny how none of these so-called ufology UFO experts, Jeremy Corbell or any of those guys, George Knapp, it's funny how none of them care to comment on this phenomenon that I know for a fact is related to the weather modification phenomenon. You know, these orbs flying around chemtrail planes. I've seen them fly in circles around them. I've seen them follow them. I've seen the actual orbs spraying chemtrails before. Anything you can imagine. In this star, the spraying chemtrails, this was in the release today, this star-shaped thing. Wonder what Jeremy Corbell would say that is. You hadn't heard him say anything. Oh, that's just some weird alien thing we don't understand. Yeah, no, it's not, you dumb fuck. I thought UFOs weren't supposed to, even if you don't believe in chemtrails, that thing is leaving a contrail behind it as it moves, that star-shaped thing. So even if you don't believe in chemtrails, how do you explain that? I thought that UFOs don't have any form of visible propulsion. They don't leave an exhaust behind them, anything like that. Well, I can show you. You can see the exhaust in that X, that orb flying through that X picture that I have. I mean, you can see it right there. It's black. You can see it coming out the back of it. And you can see that star thing is leaving, it's spraying chemtrails. How else do you explain that? But again, this is a intentional confusing of two separate phenomenon so that we don't get closer to the truth about either one. UFOs, that's one truth. UAPs and this stuff that you see around chemtrails and even participating in the chemtrail operations, that's a different phenomenon. But we're not closer to the truth about either one of them, even if they are two different phenomena. This just further confuses people. Because now people think that these things that clearly are not extraterrestrials that are involved in the chemtrails and stuff, people think those are little green men too, just like if you see a fucking, a flying V-shaped craft, all that stuff, the X-30, no, it wasn't the X-37, it was the, I can't remember the name of it, I can't remember, but there's a lot of these. The SR-71 Blackbird, and then you had the B-2 bomber, but there's newer versions as well. Well, at least I was able to at least glean from what they did release final hard proof of what's going on, which is the intentional confusion of two separate phenomena. UFOs, that's one phenomenon. UAP, that's one phenomenon. They are being lumped in together and confused as the same thing when they are not. And I want to scream this from the fucking rafters. This needs to get out in a big way. People have got to start understanding what's going on here, and they're banking on that mix-up to further manipulate and confuse us and keep us from the truth. All right, that's it. Dayglow76 at yahoo.com on PayPal to donate. Reeves Radio, all lowercase. Reeves Radio, all lowercase, one word. Reeves Radio on the Cash App. And patreon.com/Reeves Mafia to join the Patreon. 2 new films out this week, The Chin Signature and my newest one, which came out today, which is the Abyssal Civilization. So get copies of that. Donate. We have to raise $200 by Tuesday, so I'm not on the street. So $200 by Tuesday is what we have to raise. Donate, buy downloads, do whatever you can do, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care.